I'm not holding anything back in this episode. This is exactly how I prioritized pageant prep for myself when I competed and also for my clients. Stick around till the end of the episode because I will be sharing an essential resource for you. And if you haven't already, check out my free pageant prep course. It's going to go into a lot more detail about the things that I'm going to mention in this episode. And if you need help getting sponsors for your pageant, I would suggest that you check out my sponsorship episode as well. I can link that in the cards and also in the description. First thing you're going to do is start at the end, and then we're going to work our way backwards. What's the end? The pageant date. One thing you want to consider at the very beginning of your pageant journey, because you're probably going to have to budget for this, is where is the pageant and how will I get there? Start budgeting for hotel costs, transportation costs, whether that's renting a car, paying for gas, paying for a flight, a bus ticket, a train, whatever that is. Also any luggage costs that might be associated with your travel. All of those things add up, so you want to make them a part of your budget. And typically prices for all of those things do rise as you get closer to your departure date. So the sooner that you can secure tickets for any of your transportation or reservations for hotels, the better. The next thing I want you to be very proactive about, so that there are no surprises on your end, are any pageant deadlines. Now, some pageant systems are on top of this, and they'll send you a list of deadlines at the beginning. And some pageants are so on top of it that they're sending multiple emails, and these things can easily get lost in an inbox. Always get a list of all of those deadlines so that I can be prepared well in advance for each of them. If your pageant director isn't as organized, and sometimes they're going to be slowly releasing different deadlines for you, that's something you need to be aware of. Some of my clients create a binder with all of those important dates and a checklist of those dates, and that works best for them. I have other clients who will mark things down in their digital calendar within a notes app in their phone, and they may set reminders, alarms, and alerts for themselves. I also want to talk about the types of deadlines to be looking for and to be aware for and ask about. Some pageants are going to have deadlines for your headshot that might go into a program book. Maybe they want images of you that are going to go on their website or their social media. Some pageants allow contestants to do a Instagram takeover or a social media takeover. You're going to want to know what day is your takeover. Of course, we're going to consider any pageant paperwork that needs to be turned in directly to the organization. So that might be something like an emergency form, a contract, or a waiver. And then also the judges' paperwork. Some pageants will have you submit that ahead of time to them, and there might be an approval process for that. There also could be an approval process for your wardrobe or maybe your talent song. Every single pageant system is different, but those are some of the things to be aware of and to be looking out for, and make sure you know all of those deadlines. The other priority for myself when I competed, but now for all of my clients, is wardrobe. Wardrobe, for one reason or another, always seems to be quite a challenge, especially if you're new to pageants and you have nothing that you can recycle. In the US, custom wardrobe can take as long as 3 to 5 months to get a custom gown. You might be like, oh my gosh, that's so long. Yes, very true. It is a long time, and you will need to plan for that. And you're also going to want to have a backup plan. I've had clients that receive their custom wardrobe, they're not pleased, and then we have to go to a plan B. Even with some of the most reputable designers, you would be very surprised. I have a lot of stories. Now, if you're going to go with an international designer outside of the US, typically they can get you wardrobe a lot faster. We're talking weeks, but even days. But you're also going to have to consider shipping costs and fees. So if they're trying to rush order something to you, there's another expense to add onto your budget. So that's why I always say, focus on your wardrobe immediately for every area of competition. So think about not only required areas of competition like swimsuit, evening gown, fun fashion, interview, okay? What else do you need wardrobe for? Does your pageant require you to wear something specific in your pageant headshot? That's what happened my year at Miss Montana USA. We had to wear something black in our headshot. Do you have pageant rehearsals? What do people wear to those rehearsals? Are they casual? Is there an expectation that you will be dressed up? If so, can you move comfortably in something? What season will you be in when you compete? Will you be creating an arrival and a departure look outfit? Will you be building content around that? Do you need wardrobe for photo shoots? Are there any orientations or group appearances prior to your competition date? What outfits will you need for that? And if you are to win, then are there any immediate appearances that you're going to need wardrobe for? So one thing I always had when I was competing in USA was a post winning outfit that I could wear to a dinner and be more comfortable in. The other piece I always had is what outfit I would wear if I were to win for the morning news segment for that interview post crowning, because that's very typical for USA. And you can go back and watch one of my episodes on my Road to Miss USA series, and you can see I'm wearing this blue cobalt knit dress, and that was pre-selected months before I ever won the title. A word of caution: even if you are going to be purchasing all of your wardrobe in person or online and it's not custom, still consider that maybe the day that you go shopping at the stores that you go to, they might not have everything you need. You might have to plan a whole other day and go to different locations, or wait till they get new stock in. That's going to be time consuming. Or what if you order pieces online and you don't like them and you have to return them? What if you order online and something doesn't quite fit? You're gonna need to build time into your schedule for alterations. Let's talk about some other appointments you're probably gonna have to make, especially if you're new to pageants. Coaching appointments. You might need hair and makeup lessons. You might need pageant headshots. You might need to meet with a videographer because your pageant requires you to submit some sort of video package. All of that has to be planned and paid for. As a coach myself, I strongly suggest to you that you plan as soon as you possibly can for the coaching appointments you believe you'll need. Sometimes I'll get clients and they'll contact me a year, maybe 6 months in advance, and they'll say, I'm preparing for such and such pageant. Can I get on your schedule and can we make regular appointments? And usually that's pretty easy for me to do. Clients will say, okay, I want to meet once a month, or I want to meet once every 2 to 3 weeks. Whatever works for them, I say fine. And they get the benefit of reserving those dates for themselves. So making sure that they at least have access to me on those dates. Now, sometimes I'll get a client and as we get closer, they'll go, you know what? I do want a little bit more help. Is there time for me to add in extra appointments? And I go, okay, I look at my schedule, and sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. Now, the situation you want to avoid though is being the girl that's like 3 weeks out before her pageant, 2 weeks out, a week out, days out before your pageant, and trying to reach out to somebody like myself, because if you do that, there's a strong chance that myself or other coaches aren't going to be available. That's really, really tough. I already have other standing appointments. I have schedules. I have a travel schedule as well. So that is going to be a lack of preparation on your end that nobody can really help you with. And really, you don't want to just start doing coaching a month before your pageant. Now, that's not saying that I don't have clients that we've had success together, that we only had a really short amount of time, but it's just never as fun because there's more stress when you're constrained with time. And that usually means that a contestant is gonna have to really, really put in the work outside of our appointments together. And she's really gonna have to work hard, push hard to make the changes that we need in order for her to score well and to achieve her goal to win a title. So that's just why I wouldn't suggest waiting until the last minute for coaching. Not to say that I haven't worked with quite a few winners that we were able to still be successful even at the last minute. I always suggest hair and makeup lessons as well, whether or not you have already booked a hair and makeup artist for your pageant, if that's an option to you. Some pageants do allow you to have a hair and makeup artist backstage, but even if they do, I always suggest get at least one hair and makeup lesson. I have so many horror stories that I could share where clients of my own will spend a lot of money, they'll pay for a hair and makeup artist that maybe they've even worked with in the past, somebody that they love. And for some reason or another, something happens with the schedule. There's not enough time to complete their look, or the look that they talk about, for whatever reason, it wasn't executed like they thought it would be. You don't want to be caught up in the situation. You want to be able to at least touch up your own hair and makeup. Preferably, I would say just know how to do your own so that you can be on your own schedule. You don't have to be at the mercy of somebody else's schedule. And so you know that that hair and makeup is going to turn out the way that you wanted it to, the way that you planned. Headshots are also going to be a really big thing because there are a lot of states that unfortunately don't have pageant headshot photographers. Many contestants, myself included, have had to travel out of state to get our pageant headshots. And then typically with that, you're not only booking the photographer, you're going to be booking their hair and makeup artist as well. There is a lot of planning that goes into that for scheduling. And then you'll also need wardrobe for your headshots. Now, whether or not you decide to have a coach, I still wouldn't wait for your coaching appointments to start practicing. I would be studying my pageant system, finding any video footage that I could, maybe referring back to any old tips or comments or critiques from other judges that I've had in the past, if you have competed in the past. Refer back to anything that you can use and start practicing in, and at least getting a general idea of your goals and what you want to do on stage. Maybe you want a specific turn on stage, or maybe you know that you have some shortcomings in your interview that you've been wanting to improve. So start working on that on your own or with friends and family members even before you have that coach. Something else very important here that you should integrate into all of this. I want you to think about, what are you going to do with your social media, and what are you going to do with the title holder page social media if you are to win. So a part of my prep for Miss Montana USA was creating and curating very specific posts, so that if in the event judges look at my social media, which I'm telling you they are doing more and more and more, if that were to happen, I want them to see the things that I am going to talk about in my interview. I want my social media to reflect the person that I am. That is going to take planning, because maybe the things that are in your interview, maybe you don't have photos and videos of the things that you're going to reference. So start preparing that, think about that, and then also think about, if you're to win, how are you going to take over the social media pages for the pageant? How are you going to manage those? What's your plan for that? What are you going to share in that judge's room about what you are going to do with the social media and how you're going to make the most of your access to those pages? Another thing you're going to want to think about are appointments for hair, makeup, waxing, tans. You don't want to try any of these services for the first time right before your pageant. You're going to have to test a lot of these things months before. Like, for example, if you wanted to go get waxed because you're competing in a swimsuit competition, I wouldn't say do that for the first time ever. What if your skin doesn't react well? We don't want that. Or what if you go to get your hair done by somebody that's never done your hair before, and you get the color back and you're like, I hate this color and this is terrible, and now you're stuck with it? What if the hair color in your headshots is significantly different from how it's gonna look when you compete? Your headshots should reflect how you're gonna actually look on stage. As you get closer to the pageant, you're also gonna want to prep your packing list. So once you're collecting all of these things, you wanna make sure that you're not missing any of the little stuff, right? Like, you don't wanna forget Band-Aids or bobby pins or safety pins. I am including in this episode a link, and it is to a free, extensive pageant packing list. And this is a checklist that I used when I competed, and it's a checklist that I've shared with my clients as well. So I would encourage you, please use that checklist, so as you're packing, you're not going to be forgetting anything. You're not going to be leaving anything at home. Also, at the beginning of this episode, I talked about sponsorship, and the reason that you really want to, from the beginning of your journey, start preparing for all of these things and start creating all of these lists and these checklists. You can put them on things like Amazon wish lists, and you can share them with potential sponsors or friends and family member to help alleviate some of the financial burden of prepping for a pageant. But you can't do that, and you can't share those things with them unless you're actually making an effort to reach out to these sponsors. And I talked about my sponsor episode. You really should check it out, because I share with you things that I got sponsored in the past, things that you may not have considered getting sponsored, and of course I even share the exact sponsorship letter that I used when I was competing. And let me tell you, it is not easy at all times to get sponsors. It can be a really difficult thing to do, but if you're committed to not giving up to this quest for sponsors, you can be successful with this. And I had committed to that in the past, and I'm telling you, it was not without work. So I don't want you to get discouraged when you get a bunch of no's from people. You need to expect that. This episode literally is how I prepared myself, as I said, and my clients. This is the framework that we use to have a comprehensive approach to everything in the pageant, so you don't get close to your date and you don't feel overwhelmed. I really hope that you were able to take away a lot from this episode and that it helped you. And if it did, please subscribe to the channel and share this episode with a friend. And if you want to support it in other ways, you can hit the super thanks button, or you can subscribe to memberships if you want access to my exclusive content and my extended episodes.